All right, everybody, welcome in. This is going to be a fun conversation workshop with our very own Haley Carpenter of Chirpy. So what we're going to do, folks, my name is JJ, if you do not know, founder over at Vision Labs. We're like a data agency that helps teams activate their data and make quick decisions. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with a quick little icebreaker here with Haley is, what did you have for breakfast? My favorite question of the day.
I had one maple glazed donut from the coffee shop down the street with an ice cold brew with coconut milk.
Love it. Ice cold brew with coconut. I'm a cold brew lover myself. Like that's my go-to drink at any coffee shop is cold brew. So I can get behind that. I'm actually drinking some homemade cold brew right now.
Nice.
That's the we're not here for a cooking show, everybody, but if you ever do want to have your own cold brew at home, the go-to way to do that is you go to Costco, you get the big bag, and then you grind it at Costco, and then you can make all the cold brew you want. There you go. So cooking tips with JJ and Haley for making your own cold brew at home. So if in the chat here, folks, if you can hear wherever you're watching, we're on YouTube and LinkedIn and currently here live, leave something in the comments, leave a comment here about what you had for breakfast. You know, that's my favorite question. So go for it, leave a comment. And as we go, here's the format, super casual. We're going to have Haley get the metaphorical mic. She's going to do her own intro, run through everything, and leave comments and questions as we go along. And I will hop in and interrupt her and say, hey, Susan B. Anthony out of New York, has a question about how do you apply this concept to a dog grooming site. And I will then hop in and try and translate your questions in the comments into the conversation today. So without any further ado, Haley, as people put in their what they had for breakfast, I'm going to hand you the mic and you can go for it.
Perfect. Yeah. And can you hear my dogs in these headphones? They just started barking and I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, but they're fine.
All good for now.
It's not,
Okay.
It's not a intrusive, and we always love
Great.
that.
If it becomes intrusive, please tell me. But as JJ said, hey everyone, I'm Haley Carpenter. I'll speak a little bit more about myself in a second briefly, but you're here for what your users wish you knew and how to turn measurement systems into momentum. So we're weaving together what Vision Labs does as well as what Chirpy does and painting one big picture with that to elevate your work in a number of ways. So let's get into it here. Specifically in this session, what we promised you when you signed up was learning how to turn data into actionable insights. For this, you're not going to need a bunch of fancy tools. This isn't saying, hey, here's a bunch of things you can go out and spend a bunch of money on or a giant research team. It's things that are very doable, free, or low cost that you can go do right after this. Anyone can do them. Also, we want you to know how to spot what's broken, not understand just what is broken, but why it's broken, and then how to figure out what to do next based on that. Like I said, things that you can execute immediately. And then at the end, a little Q&A, which to me is like some free consulting time with me, where you can pick my brain and ask me questions about whatever you want. And that's like, you know, kind of conceptually what we're going to do, but as far as the actual like nitty gritty, I'm going to give you 3 fast techniques to help you uncover that why, a method to prioritize things, and a repeatable framework for you to use moving forward. So stick around for all of this. It's in the back half. But a little bit more about myself, because I'm a big stickler on like, if you're getting information from somewhere, I want to know why I should listen to you, why I should trust you, and why you're qualified to talk about it. So in an effort to do that, I've been in the CRO industry specifically for about a decade now. CRO is conversion rate optimization, not chief revenue officer. So it's really about using data to improve user experiences and get better results from your online funnels. I'm going to go into more detail about CRO specifically and set things up. And then I've worked at some of the top companies in the industry, some of the biggest agencies, one of the biggest tools, won some awards, had some big past clients. So hopefully just with that, I have a little bit of street cred to be able to be here and talk about this stuff. And then just a quick touch base, you've heard him mention the name, JJ mentioned the name Chirpy. That is my company. So I'm the founder of Chirpy, which is a CRO services agency where we focus entirely on how to turn your online funnels into revenue machines, whether that be a website, mobile app, SaaS product, whatever it is, we can work on it. But some of our clients, enough about that. Let's just get into the actual content here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up, and then we're going to get into that nitty gritty. So that's really the two-part structure here. And when we think about online funnels and digital experiences, really the two teams within an organization that focus most on those things and the people that I work with most would be a marketing team and a product team. So with that said, then marketing is typically, focused on brand, demand, all kinds of other marketing efforts, content. They're trying to get people to a company. They're trying to get people to them, to have an audience, to have awareness. But ultimately, the goal is to convert them in some fashion. So for e-com, that would be like transactions, of course. For lead gen, that's like form submissions or MQLs. And within the other side then of like, okay, let's say you have the traffic and the users. Let's say you have a SaaS product. Product teams then are going to be focused on building and improving the experiences. Like, I know a lot of people are familiar with like Miro, Asana. That's the product. And those are online funnels, right? Like we can optimize and should be optimizing those as well. So this is really the two sides of the coin that this content, what we're talking about today, what this applies most to. And then with product, of course, the people are already there. They've already converted on the marketing side, but that's more about like, how do we get people to stay with us, engage with us, come back to us, and then also love us enough to share us with others and have that growth cycle, the flywheel going. So these are the people really that I talk to most, that'll probably resonate most with the material.
Quick question. Yep. Since we're already here, I'm going to ask a question.
Do it.
What happens when your product is the marketing? We, for example, have a client where almost their entire product is exposed except for the last possible step you could take. So you can go through their entire marketing flow, which is their product, like that's literally the same visual experience, just out in an account. How do you kind of handle that when you have the teams of marketing and product in combination working together to drive marketing, but it's the product?
Good question. The system that I'm going to go through applies essentially in the same ways. There's always nuances, of course, but like at a high level, it's going to be the same. So it's just the overlap of those is going to look different, of course, and the metrics are going to look probably a little bit different among the teams, but that won't really change too much here. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. And then going back to like setting this up of trying to get people to you or keep them, these two teams, really the thing that we're tackling here that, people come to see me is they have the traffic or they have the people, but then they waste that or underutilize it by sending them to subpar something. So whether that be the website that you have or the product that you have, it's, there's usually a lot that we can do to squeeze more out of those lemons for more juice, if that makes sense. And some teams know that they can be getting more juice. Other teams don't know that they can be getting more juice. Some teams are working on that already. Some teams are not. I am speaking to anyone here, whether you're not optimizing at all, and let's say you built a website and you did that 5 years ago and you've been hands off because you didn't know you should be continually working on it and that you can get more juice. Or maybe for the past 5 years, you have been working on your website and products and you are trying to optimize them, but I still work with a lot of those teams, and every single time there's always more that we can be doing and more than we can be improving within those optimizations, not just like the tactical ideas, but also the structure of how the work is being done in the system and so on and so forth. So no matter where you are, I'm glad you're here. I'm sure you're going to find something that's upcoming that will be helpful. And one way I do like to frame that is, let's say, to those of you that are already doing optimizations, you're trying to make improvements. Let's say you're already, your efforts have already gotten you like 2 times more out of your visitors, and you've gotten 2 times more conversions than you would have if you didn't optimize something. And you've already like, yeah, our program is doing awesome. We doubled our, our conversions. But if even then, if you try and optimize the system, aka CRO, which I'm going to talk more about in a second, and you work on the system that is getting you those optimizations, let's say instead of 2 timesing it, we could 5 times it. Like, that's still amazing, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to do that? So it's all about getting the most bang for your buck all the time. And what I say all of this to make the point that if you're not constantly working on your website or your product to improve it, you build it and you do this number and you step away and we're like, we have one, it's good, or like, we built the product, now it's good and amazing, and we're just gonna, do whatever else, like, that's a fail. The teams and the companies that win and that grow and have the hyper growth and ultimately end up at the top, the one thing that they always have in common is that they are doing CRO, they are using this system, and they've been doing it continuously. And I'll show you the system that I'm talking about versus the alternative, which is like guessing and using gut feelings to run your business. And another way I like to frame it is that with every visit to your website or to your product, whatever online funnel it is, every visit without a primary metric conversion is cash that you're losing. And those really stack up, right? So you always, again, want to get the most out of all of that traffic and all of the visitors that you have. Now, some reasons why teams are maybe not doing CRO, which is using data to inform decision making, which I'll speak more to in a second, is like maybe they don't have proper data or the proper priority. So a lot of teams aren't prioritizing their website or product improvements because they don't know better, and they go prioritize 10 other things, and like they get to it and you're like, oh, we'll get to the website eventually. Right now we're focused more on PPC or SEO. Right now we're focused more on, I don't know, like just feature rollouts or something. So that could be the case. Maybe they don't have someone like JJ and Vision Labs where they don't have the right data set up. They don't have dashboards and reports. They don't know how to use it. And so they're just kind of stuck. Maybe they are aware they should be improving things, but they don't know how. And they're like, I don't even know how things are currently performing or what's working. And then sometimes, like, maybe they are doing some pretty good work on trying to do some improvements, and they know like the what of things through analytics, which I'll talk more about, but they don't know why anything is happening. That's still a problem, right? Need both sides of that story. And then a lot of teams are just like running on guesses and gut feelings, which we're going to try to avoid. So if those are you, this upcoming stuff is for you. And then now you might be asking, okay, so like this kind of describes our team. We have had some interest, or like you have my attention, Haley, like what should we do then? Well, I keep mentioning CRO, that's what I do. And a lot of people have misconceptions about what this is and what this means. I said it's not Chief Revenue Officer because I have gotten that before as well, where I say like, oh, CRO, and that's what they think. Totally fair. But I keep saying this system, use this system, this is what the path to success is because a lot of people think that optimizing and using data is just like, oh, we'll go throw out an A/B test and change a button color, and that's optimization. And, we have analytics, and that's all the data we need. That's so far from the truth. And really, like CRO and this stuff that I'm talking about here, like if you don't remember the term CRO at all after this, just know you attended this webinar. It is a method to reliably use data in decision making, which can become like a business operating philosophy, right? Like you are making an intentional choice to use data to guide your business rather than those guesses and gut feelings, which is what a lot of teams do. And again, I'm going to point this out more in a second. Like if you're like, well, Haley, we have analytics data, we're good. That is a good starting point. Absolutely. You need someone like Vision Labs and JJ to set that foundation. You can't operate and move forward and build on top of that without it. So it would be like, have that, see JJ, and then pile on what I'm about to talk about, and take that further, which I have visuals because I'm a very visual person. So if you think about this and how it all works together. I call this the system pyramid. And it is also in like a building type of nature. So you're at the bottom, we have your team, right? Like whether that be marketing, product, whatever kind of governance structure you have. You're wanting to do some work, right? You're wanting to get some data, you're interested in that now. Like, okay, what do you mean going beyond analytics? What do you mean beyond going with, guesses and gut feelings? So then what you're going to do is, I always tell people, like I just said, the foundation of this pyramid is measurement and a data infrastructure. And by that, that's where the analytics data falls in, where Vision Labs does a lot of work, where you would need to have your primary metrics, your secondary metrics to understand the what of the situation of your funnel, the what of what is happening. And that's just basic stuff. And with the data infrastructure, a lot of teams like don't even think about that. And that's like the pipeline of data. So, let's say you're having these end reports where you're like, just want to be able to come in and easily pull data, but where's that data coming from? Like, what tools do you have, or maybe tools that you're missing? Maybe there are some metrics that you want to have, but you don't have the right infrastructure to be able to collect that data and then funnel it somewhere to be able to use it and understand it. And then if you want to get even more technical, like what statistics and analysis methodologies are you using to understand this data? That's a whole other conversation, and different tools have different stats models that they're applying. So this is key. If you can't measure transactions in your e-commerce company, that's a big problem, right? Like that would be the starting point. If you're trying to get form submissions and you can't track those, big problem. That's the starting point. And if you don't have that, I always say if you try and build on top of it and go past go when you're not supposed to yet, later the rest of this pyramid is going to crumble down, and then you're going to have to start over, which no one wants.
Excuse me. What do you recommend here as far as you have an idea, right? Say for example, you're talking to a CEO or a founder of a company that is, let's just say it's an e-commerce company for the sake of simplicity, who's traditionally operated more direct response, right? They're saying, hey, it's very direct response where it's like, buy this ad. They don't even have a homepage. There's no navigation. It's like the classic, like hardcore funnel. And the business owner has the idea of like, hey, I want to move towards being more of a brand, right? Where we have like a navigation and we have a menu and we have about us and why you should care about our super cool widget that we have. That is an idea, right? Maybe add that to the board of like, be a brand, not this, but it's a bigger concept, right? It's a concept where it's not maybe just, hey, I think that we should do a VSL as opposed to a PDP, or I think that we should have videos as opposed to testimonials. How do you go about that method, like that idea of saying, I've got a bigger concept that I want to go after? Should I test something, or should I run into a CRO experiment, or what would be your recommendation, or how would you talk?
I'm getting there. It's coming up.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Great question though. So then that's where we kind of get into this next layer of research and testing, where like you have your ideas, whether they be just something from leadership that, they're like, hey, we're going to shove this into our roadmap because this is what the C-suite wants, or whether it is ideas based on data, which is ideal, right? I'm going to show what that looks like in more detail. And then there's that testing component. So all of this is building, right? And then the more data we have, the more we can understand through data, the more validating we do, the better our results are going to be. And then the better the results are, the more buy-in we get, not just for our process here and like using data as an operating philosophy to make business decisions, but you're going to get more funding and more backing to like keep this workflow going, right? So this is like one way to visualize the system. I don't care if you call it CRO. I don't care if you call it, our marketing, whatever, but like this is directionally what we're going for. And then if you are curious as to like what each of those components breaks down more into, this is it. I'm not going to like spend much time here, but this was just added for anyone that is curious about, the next layer, I guess, going deeper. But like speaking to what JJ was just asking about, now we're starting to get into like, okay, how does this all work together? Like you have an idea, you get data, then what do you do with that? So you can have those C-suite ideas, but ideally, like I keep saying, we're going to be having ideas that are based on data, which comes from research. So then you get those insights. Ideally, in most cases, you're going to be then testing those changes that you want to make based on the insights from the data to validate whether your change that you want to make is a good idea or not, and whether that's the right idea to move forward with or not. And then that's just a cycle, right? Like you collect data, you get insights, there are changes you want to make based on those insights, based on the data. You test them first for validation. You either implement or you don't. And then you just keep going around and around. And ideally, you're applying this concept, this system to as many ideas as you can. And people are constantly like, Haley, what do you mean by research and data? You keep saying this so much. And I keep alluding to like, Haley, we have analytics, because that's what a lot of people think data and research is. That's like a stopping point for a lot of teams. But to me, I don't even count that anymore, because that's really just like table stakes. Like every company has analytics data. That's not going above and beyond. And you're missing the why piece, right? Because analytics is just numbers. Numbers is often just what. There's the why piece, which is often words, which is qualitative data versus that quantitative data with numbers. So research is all kinds of stuff. It's things like heat maps, session recordings, interviews, polls, surveys, user testing. I'm sure like all of you have at least heard of a couple of those things. And really, like the more data and ways you can back up different ideas, the better. But I tell teams like, you don't have to think that this is go hard in the paint right out of the gate. And if you can't go hard in the paint, then like, well, we might as well just not do it. One extra research methodology above analytics, I tell teams, amazing. Maybe you're like, okay, I think we could do like a poll, like I'm about to show you here in a little bit. Great, like start there, do the one thing. There's all kinds of resources out there to help, but honestly, you don't need it. Like anyone can go in and set up a poll really easily, like I'm going to show you. So just start thinking about that. Like, are you doing more research right now than just analytics? Is this a new concept to you? Is this something that you can dig into? Do you have resources? Like, start thinking about that. Testing is another conversation outside of this webinar, really, to get into the nitty gritty, but that's part of it as well. And one point that I like to make about this system is that through the data, through testing, you're not just understanding like if your headline message is good or not, and like if the new one that you have that you're like, I think this headline is better, and you can back that up with research, and then you run it through a test. Like you're not just getting that yes or no, but let's say you have 4 headline variations that you're considering, you're also going to get the maximized result out of the best. So let's say in the test and in your research, like 3 win. Well, if one headline shows a 2% increase in conversions, variation, C has a 3% increase in conversions, and variation D has a 4% increase in conversions. You don't want just like a lift. You want the best lift of the lifts, right? Like, of course, you want 4 over 2. So this system helps you figure that out as well. And like I keep saying, like use data in testing in this system for everything. It applies to messaging, imagery, smaller stuff, bigger stuff, full overhauls of page designs like JJ was alluding to, building from the ground up, optimizing things that have existed for a long time. So using data to inform decisions for everything. And there's a lot of teams that are operating again on like those guesses and gut feelings where they're like, I think, our team knows. Our team like thinks that this is best and like this is what we're going to roll with, and that's how you make all of your decisions. Don't just think about it as like, oh, we're nailing our messaging, and like this list all works together, right? Like there's so many components of an online funnel that are all working together. So maybe you're nailing your messaging and you got lucky, or somehow you've proved that your messaging is great that your team came up with. It's not based on data. But like think about all this other stuff and the combinations of these things and how they all work together. Like no team, I guarantee it, is going to be nailing all of this without data, without research, without some testing. That's just, There's no way. So here's what you can go do today. Like tactically, here's what you can go do right now. With the what, you have analytics. Let's say you've worked with Vision Labs and you have JJ and you have reports and dashboards and things all set up and you have all of your data in that front. Amazing. Great. Again, that's the what. And I've added some other like what methodologies that I would classify in that column as well. Like heat maps or behavior data, they're going to show you how people are moving across a funnel and across a page. But again, you're not going to know why they're moving that way. Like let's say on the home page, you can see that they're scrolling 50% of the page, but you wanted them to scroll all the way down. You're still not going to know why people are only scrolling 50% of the page, or if people are bouncing a certain percentage. You can see that in the analytics data, but you're not going to know why so many people are bouncing or why so many people are exiting, so on and so forth, right? So then that's where we need to come in with the why. And three of my top favorite techniques to figure that out are polls, surveys, and interviews. So one of my favorite polls to start with of all time, I do it for nearly every single project, is a desktop exit poll. You can't do it on mobile because you can't detect exit behavior on mobile, right? Like with a finger, you can't see that. There's no way to figure that out. But on desktop, it is actually possible to detect that exit behavior when people move their mouse and they go to click out of something. So one thing I want to know is why are people leaving? Whether you run this poll site wide and you want to see why people are dropping off at any point in a funnel or a product throughout the entire funnel, maybe like something isn't working in that context and you're like, oh, like, why did you not use this feature or something like that? It can just be like one question and it only pops up when the person goes to leave, like, hey, sorry to see you go. What's your reason for leaving? This is a screenshot from a poll example on Hotjar's website, which is my favorite tool, which I have on the next screen, if you're wondering what tools you can use to run polls. But you can literally go put this up on your site, get Hotjar today. You can sign up for free, or they have paid plans that allow you to collect more data faster. I think it's like, don't quote me actually, maybe like $20, $30 a month, something like that. And you can even cancel the Hotjar plan once you run this poll. I'll show you some notes on the next slide. But you can copy this question and just go launch that. You sign up, you put one snippet from the tool on the back end of your site. You can put it in a tag manager, launch this for a couple weeks, get your data, and then shut it off. You can take the script back off your website. And here, there are a couple ways that you could run this. You could copy this verbatim. Here you see they have some checkboxes with some set up answers, but then also they have that open-ended field. So I do love that. My tips for running the poll, though, like I said, my favorite tool is Hotjar. The cost can be free or extremely low. Honestly, the setup time, 10 minutes, I would say, on average, because like I said, you just sign up for the account, you put the snippet on the back end, you go in, you add your question or two to their poll functionality, boom, you can launch it. And then with these, there's a data collection time. With most data, there's like some data collection timeline. And with polls, it really, really varies. So you're like, Haley, 1 to 8 weeks, that's like a big range. But the speed of the data collection for these depends on how many users or visitors you're getting to your product or your website. Obviously, the more that you have, the more people there are to respond to your poll, but not everyone's going to respond. Sometimes you get surprised, and even if you have lower traffic, more people respond, and so you get your data faster. But it's just a couple of weeks. You just let it hang out until you get enough responses. And then the analysis time is really not that much. You could probably analyze it in like 30 minutes to 2 hours. Hotjar and lots of other tools now have AI functionalities to help you with analysis and make that much faster. And then one big note that I like to say here with any poll that you run is we can get statistical significance with these responses, which is, increasing the confidence in the insights that we do get, knowing that those are repeatable across time. And so if you're wondering, okay, I'm going to run this poll, how many responses do I need to get before I can shut it off? Go to SurveyMonkey's sample size calculator, which I've linked to here. Usually it's between 200 and 400, but you can get exactly what you need there. If you don't hit the number that you get from that calculator, don't panic. Don't be like, Haley, well, this is a wasted effort. Now what do I do? And obviously you don't want to run this poll for like, 6 months. Run it for some reasonable amount of time. Whatever number of responses you get, 50, 100, 20, you can still analyze those and directionally use them as, signals to inform your choices. Some level of data is better than nothing, right?
Let's use like a real world example here to give people like something. Is like let's take us, let's take Vision Labs. We're an agency service provider. We get between 5 and 10,000 sessions a month. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people here that are gonna watch this that are probably in the same boat as like an agency or consultant or small brand or in-house team at a small bespoke thing. What would you recommend? Like, hey, this is an agency site. Ask those same questions of like, hey, I don't know what you sell. I don't understand why it's for me. Those type of questions, and then an open-ended question. Is that kind of the recommendation that you'd have, generally, broadly speaking, not going to hold you to it, but across the board for a service provider? What would you kind of say there?
This applies to anyone. I would say anyone can run this. Like, this is broad stroke. Like, you can literally go copy exactly what's here right now. Like, you don't have to make any changes to this. You can go put this in Hotjar verbatim.
Gotcha. So like usually like a price sensitivity, didn't find the site like kind of design. I found something elsewhere, didn't have enough information. I didn't find what I was looking for, something else, and then that something else opens up the general feedback. Is that kind of right? Or
so this is just like one example in an exit poll trying to figure out why someone left an experience. You can ask the question in different ways, right? Like, this isn't the only way to do this. And Hotjar, I keep going back to Hotjar because it's really the tool I would encourage people to go use. Hotjar is really good about having a bank of questions that you can pull from, so you don't have to stress out about what questions you ask and what options you offer. If this one right here isn't something you verbatim want to go implement. They have an AI functionality now within Hotjar where you can give them the direction you want to go, and whether you're wondering about pricing, whether you're wondering about why someone left your site, whether you're wondering about do they understand something, like you can ask questions relative to whatever you want, right? Like, if I go back to this slide, you could come up with tons of questions relative to any of these things, which you can absolutely plug into Hotjar. So like, this is just guidance, right? Like, this is where I would start. I would start with an exit poll trying to understand why someone left an experience. That's going to give me a lot of good data or a lot of good insight. But like, you don't have to be married to this. And Hotjar really is a great tool, especially for those new to research and polls, for getting started easily and quickly without having to like go educate yourself in a course on how to do this, right? Does that help?
Yeah.
Cool. And then I do put over here on the side, one thing you don't want to do is ask leading questions. I'm not going to go into the like super details of what that is, but don't be like, how awesome do you think our site is? Like, then you're leading them to the answer, right? Like, one, you're assuming that you think that you're assuming that they think that your website, for example, is awesome. They might think your website sucks, but they're not going to tell you that if your question is leading in that, how awesome do you think it is? It would be more like, hey, what do you think of this website experience? Now you're leaving it open. You're leaving it open for them to decide what their answer is, how they feel about it. And don't just ask yes, no questions, because that's not going to give you much most of the time. And really, like, open-ended questions are preferred. So if I go back to this, screen 2, that's an open-ended question. Again, you're not leading them with particular answers. Screen 1 here, like, that's the example that Hotjar gave. You can ask questions like that. That's fine. It's not wrong. But just know, like, if you give them predetermined anything, still leave room for respondents to give thoughts from their own brain as they're thinking them without your influence. Because a lot of what we want here is, what are their words? What are they saying exactly? What are they thinking exactly? You don't want to influence that, right? So Open-ended gives them more space to do that. But, you know, if you do offer some predetermined stuff like you see here, give that like something else or other option so that they can still have a chance to use their own words. That's it on polls. Does that all make sense, JJ? Like do you think I like missed anything or made anything confusing?
I'm muted. Sorry.
You're good.
I was over here like, yeah, totally makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead. Like, I'm always like trying to execute something out of this and get a gem. So like, I think that's what we'll try to do even on our side of it at Vision Labs is go and see if we can have an exit poll and see why people are not submitting a contact form of, hey, I was just browsing or I was looking for a thing. But,
yes.
Yeah, super helpful.
Cool. And then surveys are similar, but you know, their own thing. So polls are typically a little bit shorter. Surveys, in my mind, are a little bit longer. They don't have to be, but you know, typically they are. Don't do more than 10 questions is like the best practice or the guideline, roughly, because you will give people survey fatigue, and the longer it is, the more they're kind of over it and they've given you a lot, right? Like just cap it at a reasonable point. Surveys, again, like you can ask questions about anything, right? Like anything you're wondering about, anything you want data on, you can ask people. One differentiation here is like if you launch this poll right now, you go put it up on your site or in your product, those are going to be like your actual real users, your real visitors. Great, that's awesome, like obviously. But you can do that with surveys. You can offer like an option to take a survey on your website with your real users, great. But that does take longer. And what I typically do is with a survey, I have it on the next slide. I love tools, again, like Hotjar or Listna. I actually go to Listna more often for surveys, and a lot of tools out there have panels that you can order from. So you can get the tools testers, you can order testers within your target demographic. So you can set that to be like your real users. But what you can do then is have your survey, go order those testers from that tool, and you can get results in a matter of hours. You can get results in a matter of minutes to an entire survey. It can be very fast. The caveat to that is if you have like a very, very niche and specific demographic you're going after, like, you know, CMOs at a motorcycle parts company in Nebraska, you know, like that's going to take a while to get those responses. But if it's more broad, like anyone ages 25 to 50 in the United States with a full-time job that has a college degree, like those responses are really easy to get. They're going to have a lot of people that qualify for your survey. And you can get data so fast about anything that you want for like relatively cheap. So this is something I run all the time. And another example like here is we were testing out a new landing page design against an existing landing page design. So this is speaking a little bit more to JJ, like what you were asking about, kind of more in that lane, not exactly, but similar. Like this is an overhaul, right? Like this is a huge initiative. This is a real survey, by the way. Like I pulled this from my end, from like actual work I've done. And you do see some questions in here that do give those predetermined options. I broke what I just said about offering like other or something, but that doesn't really apply to these questions with the predetermined options here. But then the rest of them are open-ended, like I said. And so like read this later as an example. And what are survey tools with a B2B audience? One that I do really like specific to B2B is called Winter. It is specifically only for B2B companies. It is focused a lot on like messaging, but they also have an option where you can try out your demos and your sales pitches with people. Like Winter has a lot of cool choices, although it is like tends to be on the more expensive side. So do you know that where like cheaper tools I think that are more reasonable are like Listna and Hotjar. And then again, a lot of tools now have a lot of built-in AI functionality that is super helpful. That will help you get set up faster if you're like panicking and you don't know what questions to ask relative to a specific thing that you want data for. The tools have a lot of help within them, a lot of help within like the articles. But frankly, like this is a great time, a great use case for something like, oh, perfect. I'm glad you found it. Great. But things like this are a perfect use case for like ChatGPT. Go in and, say, hey, this is what I want some data on. I'm looking to run a survey, 10 questions in this tool like Hotjar. What questions are best? Like, what can I ask? And it'll spit out a whole survey in, 10 seconds. Not just the questions, but then like the answers too, the options. Or if you're like, hey, I want 10 open-ended questions, it's going to do that. So I lean on that. There's no shame in that. That's a smart way. You're working smarter, not harder, right? To use the tools that we now have available. And these are just some notes. And the cost can be high. Like winter is high. It's higher than 1,000 often. And it really depends like how tools are structured, like Listna. If you order from their panels, credits to do that have a cost. The more robust the survey is, the more it's going to cost to run. But like still relative to the confidence that you're going to get from this survey that you're running and the insights that you're going to get, like $1,000, do it. Like it's absolutely worth it. But still on the free side, like if you go smaller or just kind of dabble and test the waters, like amazing, do that. Setup time can be really fast. Again, like if you use AI to help you out, it's going to cut that down. Data collection time is hours to a few days. If you're really niche, like I said, longer. It can be very fast. Analysis time. A lot of the tools have AI built in now to help you. So it can even be less than 1 hour. Just depends kind of how robust the data set is and how much you dig in. It's still very easy and doable. Again, with the number of required responses, same thing applies from the polls. I linked the calculator there. Don't ask leading questions and still try and make it a mix of like open-ended ones and even like some, that have the predetermined like options. It just really depends what you're going after, but AI can help you determine that. That's it on surveys. Is that any questions, JJ, that or anything else I should cover?
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, especially if you can get the right questions asked. So, yeah.
Yep. And as far as like going, what is the actionable thing I can go do right now and like what is best for my use case? Because I want to make sure that people can go immediately and like do this stuff. Here, like really, please go try and use AI. Go try and use ChatGPT, Claude, whatever one is your favorite. If you haven't dabbled around with that, like this is a perfect entry point for you to go start playing with ChatGPT, Claude, whatever. And really like it has gotten to a point now where they've like the tool will blow your mind. So I wouldn't worry about too much like, oh, is it going to give me the right output and the right responses? Like you're going to be fine. I promise. Just like go start doing this stuff. You're going to get the questions you need. Another comment. I used Playbook UX before, then analyzed transcripts in Gemini. Okay, yeah, that sounds like I haven't heard of Playbook UX before, but taking the responses that you get and going and plugging those into an AI tool to analyze them, great. My concern with that is always data security and privacy. So like for my clients, I won't take the responses and go dump them in ChatGPT. This is actually like a great call out of something that I would not recommend doing unless you have like clearance from a security perspective. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not like an expert on the security of these AI tools that are out there. But like I lean more on the conservative side there. So like I have other analysis methods. But if that's like, if you have the go ahead for that, amazing. That's going to save you a ton of time. And like I have played around with analysis for my own like chirpy stuff. It is fantastic if you're able to do that. So it's really, I'm glad you called that out. It says VGM, so I'm not sure like if VJ is your full first name, but thanks for the comments.
Yeah, on that, it was kind of interesting, like the paid plans of the teams for ChatGPT as well as the paid plans for Gemini. We had like legal also on from some clients is that Gemini is usually gets approvals quicker for anyone who's listening. If you do want to run by a security team or someone on a client perspective, like Gemini usually gets the approvals first. before anything else. So if you
Oh,
want to do
perfect.
that, like if you want to do that, like obviously make sure check in with whoever's data it is. But usually Gemini can get the double green thumbs up from whoever that might be more often than not.
Perfect. Thanks for throwing that out there. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to give any guidance. I'm going to tell you to be super conservative.
Definitely not a lawyer, but just want to put
Not
that out
lawyers.
there. I've
That's
heard
really good to
other
know.
people's lawyers say this, just not our. Like, so just keep that in mind.
Perfect. And VG, if that is your name, said on paid plans is secure, and your legal team said that. So echoing just what JJ said. Perfect. And then the last like why option that I really do like, and it is completely free, is interviews. Really, most commonly, you interview customers or prospects that you lost, or like your sales and customer service teams. All of those segments are going to have a lot of really juicy things to tell you that you should. This is what users want you to know, right? Like this is the title of this entire presentation. They're going to have a lot to tell you that you should know. And so if you're like, what's a good starting point or an example? This is an example specific to a website. So product people, sorry. But like it doesn't have to be long. Again, you don't want to fatigue people. So always keep things like this a reasonable length. Maybe like 30 minutes to an hour max for an interview, but like even just 5 questions here, trying to dig in similar things that we're trying to understand with surveys and polls, but you're talking one-on-one in real life, and it's free, right? Like it's not going to cost you to schedule a meeting with someone, write down and record what they say, and then go analyze that. So I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to go too much in the details here for time's sake, but interviews are a great one. And here for the kind of like the number that you need of like how many interviews should I do? Best practice is 5 to 15 per segment that you're interviewing. And after that, you really most like often get diminishing returns from going above and beyond that. So great entry point, start with 5 interviews for a particular segment. The next thing that I promised you at the beginning of this session is a prioritization method, or like a prioritization framework is really what I call them. There are all kinds of frameworks and ways to prioritize stuff out there, but you would be very surprised. A lot of teams that I have worked with over the years that work now, they have no way to prioritize stuff. They have no framework. They have no project management system to do that. They're just winging it. And there are so many better ways to go about it. The easiest entry point to prioritizing stuff, if you're like, I want something better, I want a new idea, something new to try, or we've never done prioritization, I would love to do that. Like ICE. ICE is a great entry point. There are more complicated ones, but this is the simplest in my opinion, and it requires like the least effort to get going. And so here you can see, like I built just simple version in Google Sheets, and I put that here because I wanted to show you don't need a special tool to do it, and it will take you like 30 seconds to set up. And really all it is you have the tasks or list of initiatives that you want to do. Hopefully a lot of those are backed in data that we've collected from like the interviews, the polls, and the surveys. But maybe it's some stuff C-suite wants to shove into the roadmap. You put those in a list. And ICE stands for impact, confidence, and effort. And that is how you will be scoring every single idea that you have in your list. So you'll go line by line. Let's say I'm looking at, task number 3. That's what fell first here. On a score from 1 to 5, 1 to 10, whatever scale you want to use. Here I did 1 to 5. How much impact do we think this is going to have on our primary metric that we're trying to improve? So hypothetically here was a 2. Same thing with confidence. Like, how confident are we that this is going to perform well as we anticipated? With that said, the more data that you have to back something up, the more confident you can be in it. So if C-suite is like, hey, we just want to do this thing because we think this is the best, you have no confidence in that, probably. Like, really the measure for confidence is from data, from the research. So if you don't have that, that would be like a 0. But let's say you have like let's say 4 data sources backing something up. I have an example here in a second to show you exactly what that looks like. Then your confidence is through the roof, right? Like give that a 5. And then effort, how much is it going to take, score that. And then you add all of those together, or you can multiply them together. Some people do. I don't like that. I just add them. And then you sort highest to lowest. The higher something scores, the higher priority it's going to be. And then you go on from there. I do always recommend though, like, don't just take it as is. Like sometimes you need to make tweaks and adjustments. Sometimes things will fall higher or lower and you need to like, be like, oh, why is that the case? And then pivot. But like generally, directionally, it's usually pretty on point. You can always go Google prioritization frameworks. I have a list of some ones that I like over there, but pick one and try it out. And I'm getting to the end, I swear. But to like sum all this up and put a bow on it, like we have some tactical things we can go try now, but like big picture to put a bow on this is like the framework that I want you to think about now as you like move forward. And this is what a lot of teams are doing right now, and I want them to stop. A lot of teams are ignoring all of these gray columns that I'll show you on the next slide and kind of cover, but a lot of people are just like, here's the change that we want to make. Okay, now we're going to do that. And they don't know, they don't have anything backing up these changes most of the time, or like maybe directionally based on like experience or best practices. Fine, but like usually it's just these 2 steps. No bueno, we don't want to do that anymore. This is your new framework. Please use it. This is my hope for every team, where we're going to get the research. The more we have, the better. Like I said, please use AI to work smarter, not harder. Properly, use it properly. There are some ways that I would not do it, but and then get the insights. The data will give you the insights that you need to inform the changes that you want to make, that you then put into your prioritization framework. Now you have your action plan. You can outline that to your leadership. And then, ideally there's that testing component in there, which we didn't talk about really at all much today. But there's an example here where like you write out your hypothesis, the thing that you want to change, what you think you'll get from it, and what will happen based on that change. You test that with like an A/B test is most commonly what people know. But let's say you skip the test even, and you have your list of things you want to implement in your prioritization framework. Now, like you've put things through a system, right? Like you've tried to make it objective as you can. You're putting things into motion like more methodically. And then you keep this cycle going. Like this is now like a new thing that you can work from, a new thing you can share with your team, and like have kind of some new operating philosophies, and hopefully like increase your confidence, mitigate risk more. And ultimately, if I go all the way back to this like pyramid that I showed at the beginning, you have your team, we have all this data that we need, the research, testing component if you're doing it, but like now you're going to get the results that you want more often. The results are going to be bigger lifts, better outcomes, and then you're going to get that buy-in that you want from your team, from your leadership, and it's all working together, right? Like this whole system is working together. The extent to which you're doing it, like it doesn't have to be extreme. The size of all of these efforts can vary in size. But yeah, overall, that's how we're going to put a bow on it. That's it. I know we're like at time, but I can stay over a little bit if we need to.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much. We got one question in it about ICE. ICE scores being subjective. A lot of debate
I love this question.
Impact, confidence, and effort, or ease. I've heard it both ways there on ease and effort. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that? I've got thoughts, but
I have many thoughts. So there is, you will say like ease or effort. I prefer to use effort over ease, but do whatever you want. It's not that big of a difference. But yeah, I say ICE is the entry point, right? Like that's the easiest to use ICE as it is, as I showed here. Because a lot of teams, like they need that level of a starting point, which is fine. They need like the kindergarten entry point, fine. But there are problems like with it, as you've alluded to. So how do you define impact, confidence, and effort, right? Like that is subjective. People are going to have different definitions and different thoughts around what that means. So if you want to really elevate it, then you set parameters around it, which is like what the PXL was built to solve. And so like then please, everyone, if you're curious about this topic, like go Google the PXL and go read about it and look at it, because it explains this like in great detail. But with impact, then you could break that down into like separate, more granular questions of like, from the PXL exam, for example, it's like, is this change noticeable within 5 seconds? Let's say it's relative to a website. Is this change above the fold? Those are all like speaking to specifics around impact. So now it's like much more objective, and there's a lot more like parameterization around it. You can ask, certain, like, let's say you have 5 questions for impact. Great, you're going to get scores for all of those. Same thing with confidence. Like, did you have data from heat maps? That's one column. Did you have data from user testing? That's another column. Did you have data from session recordings? So then you're kind of like tallying up confidence points, right? And then you have effort. So you'd be like, how much dev time is this going to require? 0 to 5 hours, 5 to 10 hours, 40 hours. Like, you can really break it down. I really go look at the PXL if that is speaking to you, because it will make it much more objective, and really like reduce a lot of that debate that can happen.
My personal absolute favorite, just my 2 cents here, is to average multiple people's ideas on the same topic. So, for example, like we encounter this quite a bit, where it's like the VP of marketing thinks impact will be whatever $100,000. The confidence is like medium confidence, like a 5 out of 10, and then ease, and they're like, oh, this is so easy, or this is very low effort. We'll put it at like a 1. But then you talk to the executors, like the development team who's going to be building it. And they're like, that's the like revenue impact. Like, I guess 100K, cool. Let's do 70K is my guess. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm a developer. My confidence is like also fairly high, but the ease is like 100. Like, this is not easy to build. And I feel like we've encountered this before, where you can average between, like, if you have a group running through a bunch of ideas, and that average usually comes out to be fairly true, where you're like, okay, one person thinks it's easy, one person thinks it's going to take a lot of effort, one person takes 5 hours, other person says it's going to take 30 minutes, and then other person thinks it's going to take 20 weeks. So you can kind of usually average those together, and we found that to be really helpful when we do that with clients and
nice.
internally as well.
Yeah, I like that. I still have more thoughts around this. So if anyone wants to dive deeper on this, please ping me. I have my information at the end, and I would love to like geek out with anyone. VG, speaking to you here too, because since it was your call out.
Yeah. So, guys, this has been super interesting. As far as like overall, hopefully everyone's found this valuable. The replay, if you are watching this on the replay, leave a comment. If you are on this replay, that'd be super sweet, just to see how it's going. What we're going to go ahead and do is finish this up, and we'll send an email out. And if you do want to ask Haley a question, reply to that email, and I'll make sure it gets to her so she can answer those questions. Or Haley, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Oh, I stopped sharing my screen, but
Okay.
Does everyone get the deck?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's there, but you can email me at haley@mychirpy.com. The website is mychirpy.com, but I'm also super active on LinkedIn and would love to just connect with anyone, and you can also DM me there.
Awesome. And last, for everyone who stayed to the very end, I did something. I went and put an exit intent survey on our website while we were talking right now.
Hey, that's awesome.
And so we are using a tool called PostHog, which is a tool that we use for a lot of things. So a little bit different out here, guys. Be different, but figured might as well execute on it, and you can give your critiques to me, and we can run this live experiment for anyone who watches this in real time. I like to say execute, everybody, is the best way. So feel free to go and try that out, anybody, and be honest if you do not know what you're doing. So guys, without any further ado, thank you so much for being here. We are signing off, and we'll see you around the internet.